Today's top stories. President Duterte reminds Filipinos to appreciate freedom that was lost and regained in celebration of the anniversary of the EDSA revolution. The Department of Transportation signs a deal for the construction of the first 3 stations of the Metro Manila Subway. No Filipinos are reported involved or affected in the hijacking of an airline flight in Bangladesh. And Gilas Pilipinas beats Kazakhstan to book a slot in the FIBA World Cup.
Good day, I'm Pia Rosas Moroto.
And I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. President Rodrigo Duterte calls on Filipinos to appreciate freedom as the country celebrates the 33rd anniversary of the 1986 EDSA revolution.
He emphasized how the peaceful movement brought Filipinos together and that all should apply EDSA's lessons as they vote this coming elections. Gigi Arcilia Agtay has the story.
President Rodrigo Duterte joined Filipinos in commemorating the 33rd anniversary of the People Power Revolution, urging them to appreciate freedom that was once lost but eventually restored. The president asked Filipinos to never forget how our ancestors united to topple a dictatorship under former President Ferdinand Marcos. He also reminded Filipinos to use the event as an inspiration to make wise decisions during the upcoming midterm elections. Meanwhile, Malacanang defended President Duterte's absence in EDSA Day events, noting that he had more pressing matters of the state. President Duterte attended the First National Assembly of the Liga ng mga Barangay sa Pilipinas at the SMX Convention Center in Pasay City. The president also had 2 public events in Cebu on Sunday night: the unconditional transfer payout to beneficiaries, and the PDP Laban campaign rally. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Gigi Arcilia Agtay.
President Rodrigo Duterte said he has fulfilled almost all his campaign promises in 2016 except solving traffic congestion on EDSA. Duterte, who is halfway into his term, says he already fulfilled most of his promises, including the signing of notable measures into law, such as the free tuition, universal health care, and train law. The chief executive says his administration has also increased the wage of soldiers and policemen and will soon adjust salaries of teachers. He also promised to negotiate with the Moro National Liberation Front, or MNLF, the faction of Nur Miswari. Moreover, he renewed his vow to end the illegal drug trade in the Philippines in the remaining 3 years of his term and pleaded to the public, especially the youth, to stay away from illegal drugs.
Tapos sabihin nila yung train. Alam mo, ang train, nangako ako sa inyo, wala akong pangako na hindi ko natupad except yung EDSA. Nangako ako na free tuition, nandyan na ang batas. Nangako ako na free universal healthcare, pirmado ko na ang batas. Anak na ano pa naman gusto yun? Yung pantawid, sabi ko, itutuloy ko. Saan ko kunin yan? Nandyan sa train lahat yan. Ang gastos ko sa dobladong sweldo ng military pati police.
Malacanang has tagged the blog entry of a columnist about Davao City Mayor and presidential daughter Sara Duterte Carpio as nonsensical, but at the same time respects her freedom of expression. In Ellen Tordesilla's blog entry, she said that Carpio succeeding the presidency would allow President Rodrigo Duterte to escape possible arrest from extrajudicial killings and his unexplained wealth. Panelo says Tordesilla's blog entry made no sense since the International Criminal Court has no jurisdiction over the president. He further describes Tordesillas as a vocal sympathizer of Senator Antonio Trillanes, another Duterte critic, and that her blog entry an example of black propaganda since she regularly comes up with entries that destroy the president's reputation. Despite her blog entry, Panelo says the president has no intention of filing any libel case against Tordesillas as he has never done so in the past.
Malacanang mourns the passing of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas Governor Nestor Espinilla Jr. on Saturday after a year of battling cancer. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo expressed condolences to Espinilla's family, friends, colleagues, and loved ones. He also thanked Espinilla for his complete devotion to his work and great service to the nation. Panelo pointed out that Espinilla was best remembered for making financial services closer to Filipinos who transact mostly using non-bank channels. President Rodrigo Duterte appointed Espinilla as BSP governor in 2017 after nearly 40 years of service in the institution. Meanwhile, Deputy Governor Almasara Cid Tuano Amador has been designated as officer in charge effective immediately.
The Bureau of Customs is working overtime to restore their operations after a fire gutted it Friday evening. And a suspected robbery group was intercepted in Batangas. More on these and other news around the metro from Rom Dulfo.
The Bureau of Customs vowed to work overtime to restore systems and facilities for the operations at the Port of Manila after a fire gutted it on Friday evening. Customs Commissioner Ray Guerrero ordered the Bureau's intelligence group and the Intelligence and Investigation Service to determine the cause of the 10-hour fire. The BOC confirmed that its central office and the Port of Manila would coordinate in restoring systems and facilities damaged by the fire. Meanwhile, an armed robbery group was neutralized in a checkpoint operation in Agoncillo, Batangas. Report says the group tried to evade the inspection and drove past the checkpoint. However, they were intercepted by the police and exchanged gunfire. All 7 members were killed in the shootout. In other news, Health Secretary Francisco Duque urges mothers to use their expanded maternity leave in having their newborns immunized. Duque says babies can already receive the first doses of important vaccines from their birth up to 2 months now that the extended maternity leave now gives mothers enough time to bring their children to health centers. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo.
Still to come, the Department of Transportation signs a deal for the construction of the first 3 stations of the Metro Manila Subway. Authorities recover 34 bricks of suspected cocaine off the coast of Surigao del Sur. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
We will make a few years the golden age of infrastructure in the Philippines. In other words, we are going to build, build, and build.
Ambassador, sir, may I hand over the 17 atrocities committed by the communist terrorist groups to our IPs or Lumas, Filipino Lumas.
Mr. Deputy Director General, Admiral, thank you very much for this information. We will ensure that it is properly handled and move forward for the sake of our country and the prosperity of our IPs.
Thank you very much. This is the first time that we submitted this documentary evidence against the communist terrorist groups. The most serious is mga leaders, tribal leaders were killed, murdered. The second one are they're promoting child warriors among the IPs. And of course, the third, yung sex rape cases against the women and molestation against the IPs, the female members of the IPs.
The Department of Transportation has signed a deal to design and build the first 3 stations of the Metro Manila Subway system. The DOTr signed the contract with a joint venture of Shimizu Corporation, Fujita Corporation, Takenaka Civil Engineering, and EEI Corporation. The subway system, which will have its groundbreaking on Wednesday, is expected to start its partial operations in 2022 in Quirino Highway, Tandang Sora, and Mindanao Avenue. The Metro Manila Subway will have 15 stations from Quirino Highway to the Ninoy Aquino International Airport in Parañaque City. It is expected to serve up to 1.5 million passengers per day once it starts its full operations in 2025.
An Israeli company has expressed interest to invest in irrigation in the country. Agriculture Secretary Manny Piñol says the LR Group, one of the largest agro-industrial companies in Israel, submitted a letter of intent to build 6,200 units of solar-powered irrigation systems worth 44 billion pesos. Once completed, these can irrigate about 500,000 hectares of rice and high-valued crops. The Israeli company visited Davao City, Tagum City, and Llanera in Nueva Ecija and offered to establish the irrigation systems in partnership with local engineering companies. It has also expressed interest in building dairy farms. The proposal includes a 10-year loan to fund the project, which would be guaranteed by the Philippine and Israeli governments.
Another package of suspected cocaine has been recovered along the coastal area of Surigao del Sur. 2 fishermen found the package amounting to 34 bricks of suspected cocaine. The 2 immediately brought the contraband to the seashore of Barangay Bongtud, Tandag City, and reported it to authorities. The bricks weighs 43 kilos with estimated market value of 231 million pesos. The contraband will be brought to the police regional office for examination and for proper disposition, while the 2 fishermen were given cash and rice reward.
DOH Calabarzon launches its vaccination post inside a mall. Meanwhile, former drug dependents joined the army in a fun run in Maguindanao. More on this and other stories from the provinces from Janice Cabe.
In Tagaytay City, the Department of Health launched its vaccination post at the Ayala Mall Serenas in a measure to curb the rising cases of measles. Parents can bring their children for immunization at the Corte Area 1 from 9 a.m. to 12 noon until March this year. The center opens as DOH Calabarzon intensified the Knockout Tigdas drive to immunize children aged 6 months to 5 years old against measles. In Maguindanao, 30 former drug dependents joined over 500 other runners in a fun run initiated by the Army in Ampatuan town. The reformists aim to prove they are ready to live normal lives again. Philippine Army says the fun run did not only benefit the former drug personalities, but the whole community in successfully helping them reform and continue the fight against criminalities and terrorism. In Davao City, 4 inmates were killed after resisting authorities during Operation Greyhound. The 4 inmates reportedly refused to undergo a random drug test and jail inspection and attacked the police. Investigators found 2 large sachets of shabu, drug paraphernalia, and deadly weapons inside the cell of the killed inmates. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cabe.
The Japanese government celebrates the 30th anniversary of the enthronement of the Japanese emperor. Emperor Akihito says he has dedicated the past 30 years of his reign, also known as the Heisei era, to fathom out his role as a symbol of the state. He hopes that his successors will pick up where he left off as they adapt to the changing times. The ceremony was attended by over 1,000 people, including Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and other officials and diplomats. Emperor Akihito is scheduled to relinquish the throne on April 30, paving the way for his son, Crown Prince Naruhito, to take over the following day. The abdication will be the first in about 200 years. Up next, no Filipinos are reported involved or affected in the hijacking of an airline flight in Bangladesh. Gilas Pilipinas beats Kazakhstan to book a slot in the FIBA World Cup. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
The Environment, Tourism and Interior Departments recommended to close Boracay for 6 months.
To address issues such as illegal structures and faulty drainage systems that is affecting Boracay's prized beach.
The last time na nandito is 2017. It's actually crowded. Sobrang dami ng tao. Everywhere, makikita mo talaga bars and drinks and masamakalat talaga.
We had more cases of skin disease. We had more cases of diarrhea.
So nagkasama-sama lahat ng mga agencies, tiningnan ano ba ang plano natin sa Boracay, compliance on Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, at saka yung ating environmental compliance.
When they started demolishing, we saw that there was action, that they put their money where their mouth is.
Lahat ng nagamit na tubig ng customer, we collect it through our sewer lines and then it goes through a treatment process sa treatment plant.
It was nice that it happened. Finally, Boracay got the attention it is in deep need of.
I think a lot of work was done during the closure. The water is clear, the oceans are clean, there seems to be a lot of wildlife returning. We had for the first time in 10 years, we had turtles hatching on the beach a couple of days ago.
During the closure, you could see like the eagles came back and everything that we have had for a long time.
Pumasyal pa nga yung mga dito udanding, galing na Cebu.
In the end, it's a good thing, yes. It was hard for us, but it was also a wake-up call.
The beach was cleaned up and is officially set to reopen on October 26th.
Wala nang kumakain sa beach, bawal nang manigarilyo.
Gumanda yung isla namin as in bumalik sa dati na ambience.
We teach kids about pollution, solid waste management, because they're the ones who will sustain all the things that we're doing now.
The Philippine Embassy in Dhaka said no Filipinos were on board the Dubai-bound Biman Bangladesh airline flight that made an emergency landing following a hijacking incident on Sunday. The Philippine Embassy said flight BG-147 made an emergency landing at Chattogram Airport in the eastern side of Bangladesh after a passenger brandished a gun after takeoff and attempted to hijack the plane. According to reports, the suspect is a Bangladeshi passenger who refused to surrender and was initially wounded when shots were fired. The suspect died shortly afterwards.
A coalition from the private sector business groups, non-government organizations, and civil society groups has called on the government to address the looming water shortage. The call was made following a report from the Weather Bureau that the country will experience El Niño phenomenon from March to June this year. The Movement for Water Security says the World Economic Forum has listed water as the largest global risk in terms of potential impact in the next decade. The situation is said to be more critical in the Philippines, which is among the most vulnerable countries to climate change. According to report, more than 50 persons die every day due to water-related diseases, and 9 million have no access to safe water.
Gilas Pilipinas has booked a slot to the FIBA World Cup in China after beating Kazakhstan 93-75 in the Asian qualifiers. Andre Blatch scored 41 points to lead the team, while Jason Castro picked up from where Blatch left off with 15 points. Anthony Clemens made 27 points for Kazakhstan, but proved no match for Blatch. Alexander Zigulin could only make 11 points after Gilas held him back on defense. The Philippines, Japan, Iran, and Jordan were the last 4 countries to make it to the FIBA World Cup.
Zamboanga City welcomed the return of over 500 halaus or deportees from Sabah, Malaysia.
The government has been helping thousands of deportees like them to return home and lead their lives back to normal. Janice Cave has a story.
Some 506 Filipinos who were illegally staying in Sabah, Malaysia arrived in Zamboanga City on February 15. The Department of Social Welfare and Development in Region 9 immediately provided them temporary shelter and free meals upon their arrival at its facility for displaced persons in Barangay Mampang. They received medical checkup, sanitary kits, clothing, food packages, and fare money for their trip back home. Since January 1 this year, the DSWD received and processed some 1,184 deportees or halaus, as they are colloquially called. The latest batch of deportees arrived in Zamboanga aboard an inter-island vessel that regularly plies the Sabah-Zamboanga route. A few of them are believed to be Christians, although majority are natives of Basilan, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi provinces. Malaysia is rounding up and deporting illegally staying aliens in Sabah as part of its security measures against terrorism and a long-running crackdown on such aliens. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country.
The country celebrates the 33rd anniversary of the EDSA revolution, the peaceful movement that led to the toppling of the Marcos regime.
After several administrations and numerous other changes in society, does the EDSA revolution still have value to Filipinos? We'll find out in today's edition of Boses ng Masa.
Kailangan talaga, ang mabago talaga ito mga pag-uugali ng mga politiko natin eh. Hindi naman yung, pag may problema, people power, walang mangyayari sa atin kung hindi magkakaisa. Kailangan talaga mabago ang mga attitude, mga nauupo, na hindi puro na lang pansarili. Pag nangampanya, lahat pangako, pag nakaupo na puro sarili na lang ang alam.
Mahalaga din yon na i-anniversary natin dahil doon namin na-commit yung yung kalayaan at free ka na, open ka na mag-comments kung anong gusto mong ilabas, yung ganon. Pero sana naman yung kung anong man naipaglaban sa revolution dati, maipagpatuloy pa rin yun.
Hindi, wala na po. Ilang dekada na rin eh. Parang wala na rin yung hindi naman na, tawag nito, hindi naman na guilty yung dapat mag-guilty. Hindi naman napaangat nung dapat magpaangat ng bayan yung, ayun, di ba? Kung sino yung bida noon, hindi na iangat yung bayan. Kung sino yung kontrabida, hindi na pa, tawag nito, hindi na parusa. Yun ang nangyari.
Actually, naabutan ko yung people power nung bata ako. Isa ako sa mga nag-march nun dati sa EDSA. Pero ngayon, kung magkakaroon ng people power, I don't think na mag-i-improve pa yan o magkakaroon pa ng panibago. Parang pasay na eh. Kasi marami nang gumawa niyan eh. Diba? Alam naman natin na kahit sino sa politiko ngayon, maraming pwedeng gumawa niyan eh. Sa ngayon siguro, wala akong masasabi dahil walang katapat eh. Walang katapat ngayon.
Mahalaga sa bayan natin kasi yung mga tao nagsama-sama doon sa EDSA. Yun lang, dapat pahalagahan din ng mga Pilipino, ng mamayan natin Pilipino dahil isang history yun eh.
Let's take another look at today's top stories.
President Duterte reminds Filipinos to appreciate freedom that was lost and regained in celebration of the anniversary of the EDSA revolution. The Department of Transportation signs a deal for the construction of the first 3 stations of the Metro Manila Subway. No Filipinos are reported involved or affected in the hijacking of an airline flight in Bangladesh. And Gilas Pilipinas beats Kazakhstan to book a slot in the FIBA World Cup.
Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter.
For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites.
And that's your daily dose of the latest news
and information that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo.
And I'm Pia Roses Morato. Good day.